What up, FIFA Tiers, and welcome to the Free Foot Tiers podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 3 of FIFA 23 content. And as always, I am joined by my fellow co-hosts, Brad and Luke. How are you both doing today?
Yeah, doing pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, I've been enjoying FIFA as it's been going. I'm in an alright mood.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically pretty much exactly a week into the gameplay side of things, obviously, for FIFA 23. So we've got a few things that we can talk about today. However, what we'll start off with is today's content. So it's Monday evening. We've had our first dynamic duo SBCs. So we've got Mbemba. And we've also got Luis Suarez. No, not the Uruguayan Luis Suarez. That is the Colombian version for Marseille. So, obviously, with how chemistry is working this FIFA, obviously, they're not connecting to each other. One is a centre-back and one is a striker. So, it's quite an interesting sort of situation going on here. Not too expensive either. 84 SBCs. You do get an 7.5k pack at the end of it. So at the moment it is coming at about 50k for both of them. Now, you guys, have you had an opportunity to have a look at these? Do you have any thoughts and opinions? I know obviously Colombian players, Luke, it is definitely your speciality when it comes to FIFA, or your love, shall we say, in passion. Do you have any thoughts about him in particular, maybe?
So I'd seen that this was coming out. Obviously, 3-star skills is not ideal, especially this FIFA. I'm finding I'm getting more and more marooned with left stick dribbling getting nerfed. But he is quite the adaptable player. So normally, the way I'm looking at him right now, even though it is 3-star, and that does concern me, is left mid is one of his alternate positions. So I'd be tempted to put him out there because that's normally a really lacking position for Colombia. So
yeah.
Normally it's like a non-rare, not non-rare, but like a 75, I think it's Costillo, is normally the go-to there. He's got 91 pace or something. But this would be something that's actually going to be useful for my Colombian team come the end of the game. Hopefully it improves as it goes along, but it's a start.
Brad, any thoughts about them yourself?
I mean, the Mbemba card looks pretty good. I mean, Diaz can play at left mid though.
It's true. It is true.
But yeah, the Mbemba card to me looks pretty good for those that have been lucky enough to have packed a untradeable Kimpembe at the moment. I imagine he'd be a nice partner. I think first of all, let's say something. The card design is nice, right? I think the card design is pretty nice. But yeah, I think 78 pace, 84 defending, 85 physical. And I think high defending, a bit like last year, is really important at the moment, especially as manual defending is a lot harder, it appears, this year. So, yeah, he looks pretty good. He's got 84 stamina, so it could be a little bit higher, but I don't have any complaints. The main thing about my defenders for me, and especially centre-backs, is that they have a high defensive work rate as opposed to their attacking work rate, and he's medium-high, so that fits the bill. So if I was going to want to do one, it would be this guy. I'm not too bothered about the striker, but then, like I say, with chemistry this year, you are kind of forced that if you have one, you've got to kind of go Marseille or go Ligon or go for DR Congo, which I don't think is...
I mean,
Bolassi's still on there, but yeah,
Silas
Silas and Balassi maybe, but yeah, there's not a lot of options in that sense. So, but yeah, I think they both look like really good cards, and I think at this point in the game, like, we can't ask for much more, considering that, as we've said, we're a week in. So
Yeah, and in comparison to the other SBCs that we've had coming out as well, these guys are a lot cheaper in comparison to the other SBCs that we'll cover later on in the podcast. But the other thing is I'm seeing on Twitter is a lot of complaints about it, like saying, oh, they're not that special, like, oh, you can easily just go out and buy something else that is comparable. Well, I compared both of the cards, and both of them, if you change in the stats maybe to the slider to something a little bit lower, so like, for instance, you're going for 85 pace rather than maybe the 87 that is on Suarez, for instance, and looking at cards that are similar, there's only realistically 5 that are under 50k for both of them. So for 50k, I would say it's not bad value for money for it at the end of the day, and you might strike a bit lucky with a 7.5k pack. You know, at the end of the day, I packed a very expensive player from a 7.5k pack myself, so you never know. You can always strike a bit lucky.
Yeah, and I saw Tani recently. Didn't he get Mbappe out of a 7.5k pack?
I think so. I believe that was what I'd witnessed. But going back to the Marseille links we mentioned, there's a few cards of potential to help them out. So we're looking at Eric Bailly's at Marseille now.
Yeah.
Guendouzi, Payet both exist. Klaus is there. There's definitely room for these to get good links throughout the year.
Yeah, and definitely, I think Klaus is due an inform potentially this coming week. So, that might be even more reason. Maybe even if you wanted to, wait to see if he is, because this SBC will still be there, and if he is, then you've got more reason to maybe get this card.
Potentially. Plus, also you still got Ligue 1 Player of the Month at some point to be announced and come out as well. So that'll be another card, depending on the club of them.
Do you know what the real disappointment is? And this is me saying a Colombian's a disappointment. There is actually a perfect link striker to Mbemba.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Bakambu plays for the same club. So Cedric Bakambu, former Chinese Super League, former Villarreal. He also is at Marseille right now. So that could have been if they were going to go for the perfect link version of Dynamic Duo, that could have happened. And I'd have thought it'd have been the more appealing card down the years as well. So
yeah, definitely. Like in terms of like niche nations, without a doubt,
definitely could have been something a little bit more interesting. But talking about the other content that has come out tonight, we have got our first repeatable upgrade SBC of tonight. And it is a 78 plus gold rare players pack, which is half a gold upgrade pack essentially, but at least you get a guaranteed rating of 78 rather than 75. Now, somebody here I think is a little bit disappointed with them at the moment.
Yeah, they're not my friend is I think probably the best term I'd use. Let's just say we're currently 65 deep trying to hunt for ones to watch, and not ideal. They've given me about 3 walkouts, 2 of which are the same. So wow. It's great. It's great. I can't wait to see on Twitter that someone's packing Haaland and the rest, because I'm happy with a Tyler Adams at this point.
I mean, I am now about to open some, and I am going to stay quiet because if I do get anything, I feel like we're just going to have a Moody Luke on our hands.
I mean, it's already happening. It's already happening. It's got me in a bad way. I'm down bad.
That is a lot, though. It's 65 in and no, you'd expect more walkouts.
Coins into them.
I'm gonna have to start buying fodder soon.
No, I was talking to Luke because obviously how deep he is. I'm like, club's bare bones. Gonna be having to send coins and not really getting a good return from it at the moment. It's not good. Yeah, I mean, I've done 3. Video. No boards. Best was Chilwell and Mazraoui, both 82s. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm not expecting much from them. I always find at the end of the day, when it comes to upgrades, it's always the player picks.
Oh yeah, without that, like it's just they just seem to cut a bit differently, I think.
Yeah. The thing is, I should have stuck with my initial plan before the upgrade count, and I was like, I'll do gold upgrade. I'll do gold upgrade for it. I regret not sticking to gold upgrade.
Well, you mean like just normal 2-player upgrades, yeah?
Yeah, the gold upgrade SBC, yeah.
Yeah, I this is the thing. I think that they usually around this time they are quite OP. So given the option, maybe, although this has got a rating, I maybe would be inclined to stick towards the 2 rare golds. But I am going to try these just because I kind of had said that like I'm going to do Rashford's Player of the Month. But I want to try and see if I can get fodder from the upgrade SBCs, and yeah, lo and behold, unfortunately, it isn't turned out to be as good as I had hoped. But we'll see. Still, we'll try either way.
Joe, if you get anything good, anyone who's listening to this, if you get anything good, just be sure to @ me on Twitter. It's Elstormy64. Just compound my misery by sending me your great packs that you've got from this 78 upgrade, because I refuse to believe anything good's coming out of it at the moment.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, I think we'll go with the next sort of like content that we've had in the last 7 days, which is obviously One to Watch has come out. So SBC wise of One to Watch, we've had Kessie come out since Di Maria. We've got objective player wise, we have got One to Watch Richarlison and Dest. Dest is you can do in squad battles or div rivals, and Richarlison you do in the unique friendlies mode. Now, obviously, with how One to Watches work this year, with the fact that they can get 2 upgrades, so they get the first upgrade for the 3 wins out of 8, then obviously they get additional win if they go, their team, if they're at the World Cup, gets a win. Now, obviously, Kessie, Ivory Coast, isn't at the World Cup, so he can only earn the 1 upgrade. Richarlison could be an interesting one as well because of what his rating will go up if he gets both of them. Now, obviously, we have a Spurs fan here with Luke, so I'm presuming that you've done Richarlison so far.
I've not done him yet. I'm midway through doing him currently.
Okay.
I've been a busy boy. I've not had time for it.
Are you telling me you touched grass?
Of course.
Wow.
Probably been doing loads of gains at the gym or something like that. That's probably what it is.
Some bits and pieces, you know, nothing too fancy. It's a work in progress, all right?
Have either of you done Kessie and used Kessie?
No.
No, I haven't. I've partially done him, but kind of regret that, as that means I would have completed one of the other SBCs I need to complete.
Okay, so at the moment then, I am the one that's used and done Kessie then because I've got him in my main team because of the fact that I packed Rafinha on Friday with some of the advanced SBC packs that I saved for pack opening at 6. So I think generally he's quite a solid like card. I personally, normally I've in previous FIFAs not really used Kessie because of the pure fact that he's been in Serie A. But obviously the fact now that he's in La Liga, a bit more appealing to me because I do prefer using La Liga teams on FIFA. So he is sitting there, he's comfortable, he's a nice beast in that midfield in the 4-3-3 variation as my left CM. And the fact that he can get those links, obviously nation-wise, isn't that great. But I would say personally, worth doing. I think anyone to watch SBC should try and do anyway. Because you never know how many upgrades are going to earn over the course of like the cycle FIFA 23 or any FIFA basically. So I always say, take that gamble. Just submit some of your fodder. Maybe a bit of coins doing it. Because at the end of the day, there's not going to be many of these SBCs. And then, obviously, another SBC, potentially worth doing, is Flashback Thiago Silva, who I think the Flashback card design this year, top notch.
Yeah.
Like, whoever you are that is designing these cards for EA, you are a great artist.
Yeah, they're on it now. Definitely
Deserve a pay rise. Like, there's some top quality card design so far, and we've only just got a couple of weeks into the game cycle. We were like, so we could expect even better looking cards, probably designs as the year goes by. But as for Thiago Silva as a card, do you think he's worth doing? Do you like the look of him?
I mean, I'm not going to be the only one that probably wants a little bit more pace out of their centre back, but again, like we talk about, I think defensiveness, like the defensive number on the card, is more key this year at the moment. Certainly, as we move forward, he's going to fall behind and probably be a little bit off the pace. But at the moment, like 77 pace, so I'm going to be that guy. It'll be like, put a catalyst on him or put a shadow on him or, you know, something like that. He's very usable right now. And with the high defense, he looks very, very good. He's medium high again. So it's what you want. Yeah, he looks very nicely rounded as a centre back, but he definitely is going to be one of those where maybe, you know, 3 promos away, he's probably going to fall behind the curve. But that's just how the game goes. That is how it moves forward anyway. We know that.
So who wants to tell him about what lengthy is? Because I feel that he gains lengthy by having an anchor, I believe, which then means that pace is kind of irrelevant. People that are slow, I think, are only a couple of meters behind. I think someone raced Ibrahimovic with lengthy against someone else. Might have been Haaland with lengthy, and there was only a couple of meters between them. I believe was something I'd read. So if someone's got a lengthy acceleration type, pace is kind of irrelevant. So Thiago Silva only having 77 is perfectly fine with the fact that you can get him to have a lengthy acceleration type.
Well, I've got Thiago Silva in my team. I've got a shadow on him because, to be fair, yes, I've been told about this lengthy, but I couldn't really care. I'll do what I want to do rather than caring about what is the meta and stuff like that. And I've got to say, his pace isn't an issue realistically, right? At the moment in this game, I don't even think pace is that important. Like, I'm using pacey wingers. They don't seem to be particularly like that super fast in comparison to other players. And I'm finding slow players, like on my Arsenal past and present, I've been using like Giroud's inform, who's got 45 pace. I've got Aaron Ramsey in midfield, who's got about 46 pace, I believe. Like, those guys are feeling like they can easily stay in the game, whether it's playing defensively or offensively, against pretty much these higher rated paced cards that everyone's using. And I think it's just more caring about the other stats than necessarily pace. I'm finding some of the cards that I'm enjoying so far aren't over 80 in pace. Yeah. Some of them are over 80 in pace, but it's surprising how many cards under 80 pace that I'm enjoying at this moment in time.
To be fair, like, I'd used Ericsson in the middle of the park for a bit, and I thought he was really good. Quite enjoyed him. I think
I'm enjoying Andre Silva in shocks. He can get him to be lengthy with an architect. So if you have architects, sell them because they make most players have that acceleration type.
Water's wet.
It's worth about £1,000 at the moment.
Water's wet, grass is green, and Luke likes Sanchez.
Sanchez?
Silva, sorry.
Sanchez, you say? I mean, Davinson Sanchez is good.
I haven't used him this year.
No, it's just he's Colombian, but
I did see him and thought, because he's sometimes quite a good starting centre back, but I think there's some other options out there today. But yeah.
And then moving over to other SBCs that have come out. So these are the confirmed and released Player of the Months that we have had. So we've got for the Premier League, Rashford. For Serie A, we've got Kim, what's his name, as I'm going to be calling him from now onwards. And we also have Valverde for La Liga. Now, I've seen quite a lot of people just going head first into doing these. Now, I guess I'm in a minority here. I'm personally saying hold fire, because at the end of the day, you've got several weeks to be able to do these. And all the SBCs at the moment are pretty much, except for tonight, are coming around like 150k plus.
Yeah.
Which it will be a very big fodder drainer, or even coin drainer if you haven't really got the fodder, if you keep doing like every single SBC that's coming out. And I've seen a few people that are doing every single SBC that's coming out. And I personally say, wait, hold fire, see what promos come out, see what also you might pack as well, because you never know, you might pack an alternative or a better version or a better player that can play in that same position potentially that you're going to already be using these Player of the Months. And then what happens if you pack something better? You've done this Player of the Month straight as soon as they're released, and you're probably going to have to bench them or something. So I always say with this sort of situation, maybe just hold fire a little bit, keep hold of your fodder in case there's a better SBC, because by the way, because there is one to watch player that we know that was coming out, because obviously EA said about, which is Sterling.
Yeah, I was gonna say about him, yeah.
Which is going to be coming out as an SBC, so you might want to instead do that, because that's a good rated card, depending on what the price is as well, which is going to potentially earn upgrades throughout FIFA, and you might not be able to do them because you've already gone ahead and done like Rashford, and you might be playing Rashford at left wing.
Oh, and he's definitely going to earn upgrades. I mean, when England win the World Cup, that's inevitable, isn't it?
I don't know. We're going to have to start scoring goals at the World Cup first,
before
anything else.
But are you like me, maybe saying about holding fire, or are you going head first and wanting to do these
No,
player of the months?
massively. Like I think people don't. I think people forget how long their like current team will get them through. Like they always see like a shiny new card and think, oh yeah, I must do it. But actually, right now, like their team would easily get them through. To a decent way into the game. And like you say, when you get this, I feel like when you're in this sort of fortunate position of you've got a bit of time on the cards to wait before you go and rush a decision, then I think they definitely should hold off and just wait until that maybe like even the last couple of days, or maybe just see like if we do get more upgrade SBCs, because you never know. Just because EA did it on a Monday last year, don't mean that there's going to be a Monday this year. This might be a 78 upgrade today, but tomorrow we might get like a 182 plus player pick. It might only be one, and it might be like only repeatable like for 24 hours or something, but it is possible. And that could be the difference between you getting like a good high rated fodder card instead of spending your coins. And at the moment, coins are gold dust. Coins are gold dust.
Yeah, so I'm kind of handcuffed by a video idea that I've made that I have to do these Player of the Month SBCs right now. So I kind of can't not. So yeah, all this logical speak, I kind of have to ignore, sadly.
So yeah, content creators aside, keep your coins. Yeah. You spend them wisely.
Don't spend them on 78 upgrades and don't spend them on Player of the Months. Literally the two things I'm doing. It's concerning.
Was that phrase is it do as we say, not as we do?
Pretty much. That pretty much sums me up right now.
So, obviously, one to watch is the main focus for this week because it's the main promo that's come out. The interesting thing is the fact that it is only a week long, because I've heard rumours about what the potential promo is going to be coming out on Friday. And to be fair, if you have been looking at the different types of cards that you do when you filter out, when you're looking in your clubs and stuff like that, there's a big telltale sign, because the Road to the Final card designs are sat in there. So Road to the Final presumably is there on coming out on Friday.
Is it Road to the Final, or is it going to be Road to the Knockouts?
It says Road to the Final.
Ooh, okay.
On the filter. Let me just double check that and confirm that is 100% the case. So you scroll down to the very bottom, UEFA Champions League, Road to the Final, UEFA Europa League, Road to the Final. There is no Conference League, which is interesting.
Okay.
Unless they just haven't added that yet, and they are actually physically going to add them in. It's just that those two are sat right at the bottom in the filter, basically. So be interesting, but obviously it does mean that the pool of one to watch cards this year is a bit less. So they have released the main team on the Friday with some quite interesting looking cards. The worst two being Tyler Adams and Tolisso. When mini release was Delict, Bergwijn and Renato Sanchez. We also got our one to watch card for the Ultimate Edition. If you
mean your Tolisso or Adams card?
Not necessarily. I'm pretty sure somebody got something better than that. I did get Tolisso. I'm guessing you got one of those two then. You got Adams, okay. But Luke managed to get himself a
Darwin Núñez. So
nice.
I'll take it. I'm relying on Uruguay at the moment, so because he's not going to get one for individual performance, and Liverpool are currently looking very
in the
mixed.
mud. What did I say? Oh yeah, Mitrovic will score more than any Liverpool forward this year. You guys are struggling.
You know, when you make about 50 predictions, one of them will turn out to be right.
This is true. Just make enough.
It happens.
Yeah, make enough.
Well, I don't know. Bobby Firmino's putting a good claim.
He
in
is
at
actually,
the moment.
surprisingly, the person who was probably going to lose out a little bit of game time to Núñez. But at the moment, I mean, if he carries on headbutting people, then he ain't got a problem, has he? He won't be playing anyway.
Yeah. But what do you make of all the players that are in one to watch, considering that they're there's many more transfers that they could have potentially have chosen from, but from the ones that they have picked to be in one to watch, do you think this is a good looking squad with the mini release as well?
I think it's quite nicely rounded. Yeah, I don't. There's if the thing is like there'll be a lot of alternative leagues that like players could have been picked from, but with that being one team in 1 week, they don't want to like put so many one to watch cards out that like you're pretty much packing one every other pack, but you might get loads of stinky ones. And at the same time, they need to focus it towards the leagues that people really like and want to see. So I kind of don't, yeah, I don't mind it, but I think, yeah, there's no one there that I can, or no one that I could think of, because obviously Sterling does look to be getting one. No one I could think of that I would rather see in the Probo more than the cards that are already out, I suppose.
Yeah, they pretty much covered all the major ones. So I
Yeah.
think at this point, they could have put probably a couple more danglers in. You say getting one every single pack. As I say, 65 in. I'm proving that theory very much wrong. But yeah, it's they are very rare. I'm pretty certain they have less than a 1% chance on
Something
most
like
of the
that.
promo
I
packs
did
in the
see
store.
that. Yeah.
So putting enough in to pack them in every pack wasn't even close.
Yeah.
Also, just to cover on the Mitrovic situation, isn't he injured now? And Firmino's only one behind. So that prediction might still be mudded.
It might do. It might do. In other news, I've opened my first 78 plus rare and I got an 84, so I'm doing all right.
You're doing better.
Doing similar to me then after like 20.
But we are going to move away from one to watch in the SBCs and maybe start talking about maybe our thoughts and opinions on the gameplay side of things after 7 days. I know Brad apparently has only had the opportunity to play a couple of draft games, and that's about it, isn't it? I believe. Is that right, Brad?
Yeah, so I played draft games. Obviously, me and you have done an episode on a draft as well. I've also then done like I've done a lot of the moments, because I can kind of like, I like that mode and the fact that you can just do something that takes like 30 seconds, sometimes even quicker than that. So I quite like that, and I wanted to see what the pack weight was going to be like with those packs. Was kind of why I wanted to do them nice and early. But I did do my first Rivals game today, and I hadn't actually built a team until today. And I played my first Rivals game. I won 5-2. It was fine. Like, I like the gameplay. I think it's more methodical. I think passing is a lot bigger in this game than it has been in previous years. So high passes, people with good short passing, and things are a bit more meta than say last year, where it was kind of like about high dribbling and skill moves. I've noticed that skill moves at the moment, because we've got players that are not kind of as high in the dribbling aspect, seem to be a bit sluggish, a bit slow, so you can kind of see them coming or intercept them a lot quicker. So yeah, at the moment they don't seem to be as meta as last year.
I'm enjoying the start of this FIFA. I'm doing alright. Like I wouldn't say I'm as good as I was last year, but I'm still used to left stick dribbling a fair bit. I keep running myself into trouble where I think, I can just do little movement this way, and then I just lose the ball after barely moving. So it's getting rid of bad habits from previous gens that's still catching up with me. There definitely are still some skills that are seen quite a bit. Also stuff like the Trivela shots. I think it's Trivela at least. They seem fairly strong at the moment. There's a few things that could be sort of fine tuned, but it's definitely a good start to this game.
Yeah, definitely. I like that's exactly it. I think that's the right word to use. Is that there's some fine tuning, but we don't want them to go and like do what they did last year, where they over nerf something. Like with the goalkeepers last year, they basically took that and then completely turned the game around. So then the game that, like, in my opinion, was actually quite nice at the start. Yes, it was a bit difficult to score, but they absolutely ruined it. And this year, like, all they need to do is just those couple of small tweaks, and this will be perfect. Like, this is, I don't like, we don't want them to just keep recreating the same engine, the same game every year. Like, people need to realize that, like, gameplay needs to change, and you want to try and evolve and move forward and try and get it, I suppose, in an ideal world, as realistic as possible. And, you know, you don't see players week in, week out doing La Croquetas and McGeady spins and turning people inside out. It's a bit more like this, build up play, working from the back, and I quite like that for this year.
Yeah, I would say that I'm quite enjoying the gameplay side of things. I think I struggled initially for about the first maybe like 5 games or so, and then I just sort of then found what the rhythm was, what worked quite well. I think the problem was is at first I did my usual approach, try and just go super fast into everything, but then I was like, no, let's slow it down a little bit. Let's take my time, think about everything, and then everything just clicked then, and I've been enjoying it ever since. I've had a few temperamental moments where I've not enjoyed like certain what feels like BSE moments within the game. However, what I'd say about the servers, which I haven't quite enjoyed, I think the gameplay servers are actually feeling a lot better and smoother than in previous years. Like when I've been doing friendlies in previous years, like against GH for instance, I would have always had lag. Now he's the one having lag because he's got bad internet, and because I've got good internet, I'm not getting lag, so I can have a smooth game through whatever game I'm playing now, whether it's a friendly, whether it's division rivals. Haven't played obviously any of the FUT champs qualifying because I haven't got enough points to do it, so it'd be interesting to see how that feels, because obviously that's where it's really ultra competitive realistically. So it'll be interesting to see how I make of the gameplay when it comes to FUT champs, if I do it, because at the moment I'm still in and ahhing about it, because looking at the FUT champ rewards, it does look a little bit better in terms of the rewards. However, because it's team of the week players by looks of things still in red picks, I'm kind of like don't really care about it. I'd rather try and hunt down promo players and stuff. Maybe doing like League SBCs once they come out. But yeah, the gameplay is fun. It's enjoyable. I know there are still a good majority of people that aren't enjoying the gameplay side of things, but I just wonder if it's just a case of they haven't quite figured out the gameplay side of things, and obviously they need to adjust because it is a new FIFA. You know, every FIFA is different from each other in terms of what works and what doesn't work within gameplays. Power shots as well, guys. Have you tried out power shots? Do you think they are good? Do you enjoy them? Do you think they're maybe a bit OP?
I feel like
because to be fair, I think they'll be tweaked a bit.
I feel like there's two different questions there. Do I enjoy them? Hell yeah. They're like that feeling, like just as they're winding up, knowing that you're about to hit a banger. I love. In terms of like whether I think they're good, not at the moment. I feel like the accuracy of them is pretty poor. Like if you, I've tried to use them on several occasions, and they tend to get blasted over the bar. So in that sense, I don't think they are. But I've heard most people say that they think they're going to get nerfed, and I don't know. I just, for me, they're not going to get nerfed because at the moment I don't score from them every time. But
that's because you're doing it wrong.
Yeah,
at that point, it's a you thing. It's definitely a you thing because they are very good. I avoid doing them because, as you say, I do what you're doing. I'm kicking it at the corner. The first one was comedic, but you find the corner flag or you hit it, and it's. I'm not quite used to it, so I'm just laying off it. I'll adapt more to it in the coming weeks, I'm sure. But at the moment, I'm just sticking with what I know and how I'm scoring naturally. I've found the chip, if it works, is very good. And when I say if it works, it is basically just if it doesn't go over the bar. Keepers seem to struggle with chips a lot. If it gets over the keeper, it's probably in. That's the Michael Owen-esque thing. But you know what I mean? If it hits the target, it's pretty much in. The keeper will not get anything on it. That's what I found.
I'm finding goalkeepers generally are just struggling full stop. I find similar to maybe the outfield players, like rating seems to be a key thing for the stats, because obviously higher rated players get more in-game stats and stuff. Because whenever I've used a low rated goalkeeper, I find they just flop to the ground. They don't really make any saves. They struggle to just deal with anything. And then like the usual sort of situation tall goalkeepers seem. I mean, I say tall goalkeepers, but obviously you've reviewed a certain Campos and saying that he's like a meta goalkeeper. And to be fair, coming up against him, he does seem to be that sort of like annoyance thing. But I think it's down to him and his pace, so he can like close down gaps quite quickly, so that it makes it a bit easier for the goalkeeper to save. But I think like if there's a gap, like one-on-one sort of situation, the goalkeeper just literally just falls over and just does like what it does in any other FIFA, unless you got maybe save with the feet trait. So I find in goalkeepers with save with the feet trait or big legs tend to be quite good in those sort of situations. But yeah, generally speaking, goalkeepers are still being like goalkeepers. I'm surprised you haven't really brought it up, Brad.
Well, so my goalkeeper in my team is Edison.
Okay.
And he's actually pretty good. I can't complain. And I think I kind of know what you mean, because I have, like I say, I've only really done drafts, but in one draft I had Donnarumma and he was insane, and in another draft I think I had Ramsdale and he was awful, absolutely awful. So I kind of agree. I feel like whereas before you had this like potential OP keeper, I actually think this year rating on the keepers kind of matters as much as it does on players. I know we've still got obviously some OP players and things like that as well, but generally, like I'm finding I've got Bruno Fernandes in the midfield, who seemingly, if you look at his stats, isn't that good. But like I say, because passing and stuff is a bit more key this year, he actually feels really good in the game, and I'm enjoying him.
So with our first 7 days under our belt, and with the gameplay side of things, and getting to try out some certain players within our teams, is there a certain player in particular that you think would go under the radar that you would like to suggest to our listeners that might be worth a try putting in a team, if they can put them in a team? Like, who do you think is maybe like an early hidden gem that you've come across so far?
This is a tough one, because there's one player that I love in the game this year, and I don't think he's under the radar, and that's Gabriel Jesus.
Okay.
I really like how he feels, and for some reason I don't know what the difference in shooting is, but I've got two strikers at the moment, and it's Gabriel Jesus and Jamie Vardy, and to me Gabriel Jesus is like miles above Jamie Vardy. For some reason Jamie Vardy's shooting accuracy just seems really poor compared to Jesus. Every time I shoot at Jesus I feel like it's a goal. So he's incredible. But when I did start my team today, one player I did notice who I've got in there for just necessary for Chem, but actually he's really good, is Raum, the left back. I found him be in really good positions defensively for me, and you don't always get that with your left backs, because a lot of left backs tend to, be high attacking and get high up the pitch, but actually defensively for me he's been very, very good.
Luke, any suggestions from player reviews or from being in the squad whilst you're doing reviews or anything like that?
Andre Silva.
That's like been.
Yeah, okay. I've already recommended that. It's kind of unoriginal if I've recommended that for a year, and then also recommended it on this podcast specifically earlier. But slander aside, we will go to talk about Ilkay Gundogan's been pretty good for me.
Okay.
He's a midfielder that I never look at with any kind of like, oh, Gundogan, sure, average across the board, but he's actually been fairly good. He was in the Haaland review I did, and he popped up a few different times, getting involved. Shooting's actually really good. 80 shooting on his card might go overlooked, but yeah, he felt actually pretty nice to use. So if I'll go for one, I'll say him for now.
As for myself, now, I think when someone packs this particular player, they'll probably look at him and go, probably fodder, which is Marco Reus. He's got 70 pace, which isn't exactly that bad, realistically. But the one thing I've been finding quite often with my 4-3-3 fourth variation formation is the cam seems to be very, very much involved a lot more in gameplay than in maybe previous years. Like, normally I've found my midfield will be very much a midfield. Like, they might get up a bit and maybe chip in a little bit. Maybe like, once every other game, one of them might do something. I'm finding at the moment my midfield is the most important element. They're not like getting involved in the game. Like Marco Reus, 24 games, 15 goals, 9 assists. In previous FIFAs, I probably might have not even seen those sort of like level of stats. Mostovoy, who have now replaced him, 3 games, 4 goals. Like, they really do seem to get like involved in the game. And at centre back, another one that I'd maybe like to suggest from my Arsenal past and present is Gabriel Paulista. 67 pace, but seems to be an absolute beast at centre back. Like I'm finding, generally speaking, pace does not seem to matter. Even like Zinchenko at left back on that account seems to be doing great job at left back. I'll be like, I'm just going to get counter attacked and that side is going to be exposed so easily. But no, 60. I think Zinchenko's got about 68 pace. And then 67 on Gabriel Paulista. And I don't think I've even put chemistry styles on those two. And they seem to be doing perfectly fine.
And coincidentally, Mers has 50 Zinchenko's and 50 Gabriel Paulistas on his trade pile. So, no, I'm joking. He's just trying to bait you in. Yes, go and buy him. Go and buy him now.
Yeah, go and buy him. No.
I definitely think, like you say, midfielders to me seem to be the key this year, without a doubt. Like, the playmaking side of things, I think, is huge.
Definitely. Like, just passing is just like a different style of gravy. Like, I like my tiki-taka football, but I think at the moment tiki-taka football is even more like prevalent at the moment. I think we'll move away from all the FIFA 23 news and discussions that we've had, and we're going to talk about a couple things with Premier League. So this weekend we've had 2 big matches. So I think, as I'm an Arsenal fan and Luke's a Spurs fan, we'll start off with the North London derby that Arsenal won 3-1 in the end. I just kept saying beforehand, like I felt like it could have been a situation that Spurs could have won, because I was thinking about when Arsenal played Man United and we were the better team, but we ended up losing 3-1 and we just didn't seem to cut it quite in that match. But this game seemed the polar opposite. Like, we were all over you, but you guys just... You had a few spells where you were attacking and stuff, and you could have had some opportunities and maybe try and get in the game. But generally speaking, the approach was very negative.
That's to be expected. That's to be expected from Spurs. In big games, Spurs just sit deep and invite pressure. I don't know if you've not watched them in the last year under Conte. That's what they do. They did it against City. They did it against Liverpool. They did it against Arsenal. They do it all the time. This is nothing new. And at least one of us is right this week, because I said that there would be... I said we'd lose by 2. We lost by 2. Also, I specifically said, one of these is wrong. I said there would be a Sessegnon mistake. He didn't come on till late. But I also said Emerson Royale is an idiot. I also said he'd make a mistake and cost us the game. And I was 100% right. This man has never been able to defend. He's never been able to cross. He's never been able to shoot. He's not been able to do anything. What is he good for? He's never been good at all.
SBCs.
The only time he's ever looked good is when he had a Shapeshifters last FIFA. That's the only good thing I've ever seen out of Emerson Royale. He has been woeful. We saw it from the Palace game that was his debut when he got... No, that wasn't him getting sent off, but he still got spun a bunch of times by Zaha. He's never been good. I don't know how he gets picked every week. The best news about him being sent off is that we can play someone else. I don't know how he's frauded his way into being a footballer. I don't know how he's managed to be worth however much he was. 25 mil, I think it was, from not from Real Betis, that he was on loan there. From Barcelona. I don't know how we got scammed into paying that. But Christ, he is Ali Dia, except he's actually prolonged it. He's awful. And the worst part for me is my brother likes the guy somehow. My older brother, who's a Spurs fan, actually likes Emerson Royale. Every time I've said he's bad, he goes, no, look, he's just run down the... He's out of position. He's further up than the wingers. when you look at him on the pitch, he's further up than the wingers most of the time, and it makes no sense.
So I'm hearing that Luke's not a fan
of Emerson Royal.
of Emerson Royal. Yeah. That's what I gathered from that one, anyway.
He's an idiot. He's an absolute idiot. Someone's going back in their own half. No. Sorry, you blow the game. When the game plan from Conte is sit deep and then... we were finally trying to build something again after conceding. LAJS is stupid, by the way. Use your hands.
Yeah.
Watching that was... oh, that was painful. But of all the things, you've got Martinelli going in his own half towards his own goal. I know, I'm just going to stick a studs up. That's the smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to lay one in on him. No. Never. Never is that the idea. If you think that's the idea, you're an idiot. Like, Roy Keane would have thought that's the idea against Alfie Haaland. That's the only other time that mindset's crossed, and that was intentional.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I can't think of someone who'd be stupid enough to do that.
Does that mean you think it was a red then? Yes,
it was a red. I'm not going to sit here and argue saying, no, poor Emerson, he made the wrong... You know, the referee's got rash there. If the referee didn't give that, the only thing I was shocked at is the ref gave it. I fully expected that to go to VAR and it be given. I was like, referee's going to give a yellow, and then they're going to see the studs showing.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be given as a red.
Well, yeah, because that happened in another game, didn't it, that weekend?
Mm-hmm. So that's what I thought was going to happen. The fact he gave a straight red almost caught me off guard. But the referee got the decision 100% right. I'm not going to sit here and try and fabricate something about, oh, their game's gone, the referee's thrown the match.
Yeah.
I'm not going to blame the ref here. Spurs weren't good enough. The game plan they were executing didn't work. We finally then started to show something, and we got a penalty. And then Emerson Royal gets sent off and a mistake from LAJS. Two big mistakes then cost us any hope of the match. It's stupidity. Stupidity. And the thing is, we're going to see him midweek when he play against Eintracht Frankfurt. Because, he's suspended for the Premier League, so we might as well play him in Europe. Oh, yeah, that's a genius idea. Reward the guy for being a complete clown.
It is what happened.
Do you have any thoughts on the game, Mers?
I mean, I enjoyed it.
I'm sure you did.
I mean, I'm enjoying, but more is the fact that it's the...
How could you not enjoy Arsenal right now?
way that Arsenal are playing at the
definitely.
moment. It's enjoyable. It's great to be watching. The fact that when you're looking at the stats, right, only Man City are essentially the better team than us at the moment in terms of like the way that attacking football is being played from any other team in the Premier League. I think also the mentality, the team bond that we got at the moment. Like, what was it? The first goal went in. Xhaka's like calling up everybody into a huddle.
I saw that. Yeah,
like,
it's great.
Having like little talk and stuff like that. The passion and Xhaka, I absolutely love the guy at the moment. The passion that he has for the club. The fact that he's also playing in a role that he should have been playing for so long for us, rather than that stupid holding midfielder position that he's been played for so long. Like, this is what he does for Switzerland.
Yeah.
And now he's getting to do it for club, and he's like pretty much got I think he's pretty much surpassed like his goal involvements in any other season in like one single season, and it's absolutely enjoyable to watch. Now, my only biggest worry is obviously like one of the key guys like Jesus, Saliba, Thomas Partey pretty much is a key part of it. Like getting injured or something like that. I know we have got some good backup for certain roles, for certain positions, but I think like maybe like one of those three in particular might be a big miss because, well, Nketiah, for God's sake, so like I would worry if Nketiah has to start because Jesus is out or something like that. I do. The only thing about Jesus is the fact that he is out wide quite a lot and not in the middle, which I probably prefer to see a bit more.
Hang on, didn't you say Nketiah was the best striker in?
He certainly did.
I recalled it. Like, I recall him saying
Underrated.
specifically,
The most
underrated striker
Yep.
in the world.
He is. He's underrated.
So much
he's the
that
best
you
in
don't
the
rate him.
world.
Is that how underrated he is? That you don't rate him?
So much. Shh. Right, I said it for publicity.
Oh, of course.
No, I don't. I mean, I'm with you. Like the way you guys are playing football this year is so much more fluid. I'm enjoying seeing that you've got like a decent outlet for a striker now, because I feel like Aubameyang, like obviously we know what his problems. He was a bit lackluster, and I don't really see how he's going to improve Chelsea's team at the moment. But Lacazette as well, he kind of like, he had that first great season, or good season, shall we say, and then he just kind of didn't really ever fulfill that again. And I think now you seem to have like a player who's let's not mistake, like he did well for Man City last season, despite the fact that he didn't get as much game time, and this year he's kicked on in the same fashion, if not maybe even better. And he's someone's main striker, which is what I think he always wanted to be. He wanted to be the main guy,
Yeah, potentially. I mean, looking at his positioning, I don't know if he is truly wanting to be the out and out striker, but he does get into that position. Obviously, he's supplying some goals and stuff like that. But the link up play as well is quite good at the moment as well, so it's enjoyable to watch, and it'd be great to see where we finish at the end of the season. Obviously, Champions League football looks like it's a guarantee, like top 4 finish is a guarantee.
Oh, I'd be very surprised if it doesn't finish with Man City first, Arsenal second. I'd be very surprised.
Well, that being said about Man City, which is the other game we got to talk about, which is the Manchester derby. So, man, another home game hat trick for Haaland, taking his tally up to 14 now for the season. Just give the guy the golden boot already. I think there's no point. Like, nobody is even remotely close to the guy. Like, he has to be pretty much injured sometime soon if anybody else has a chance of trying to claim that golden boot at the moment. But also Foden chipping in with a hat-trick as well. So 2
of which were set up by Haaland.
Yep, as well. And the link-up play as well from Kevin De Bruyne. Yeah. That guy is just something special in midfield.
Yeah, absolute talisman.
At the moment.
I mean, generally, like, this is the thing, right? As good as Arsenal are looking this year, and it's the best they've looked in a long time, it's just, Man City are just a different gravy. And don't get me wrong, Haaland is having a lot to do with that this season, because the guy is I've said it certainly at least a couple of weeks in a row. He's undefendable at the moment. Like, he is given defenders so much to think about and so much to worry about, and they can't seem to handle him. He's just too much. He's too much, and it's great to see. Like, I said this before. We hate it when big players come in with all this hype in the Premier League and don't do it, don't perform. But this guy's just got it. He's got it, and the fact that he's going to be, come to the World Cup and come to that period just around Christmas or Boxing Day football, where he's going to have had 5 weeks chilling and training maybe or whatever, while everybody else is going to be working out for their international side, and then he's going to be coming up against some either tired legs or some second-rate defences after Christmas. I would expect at least a couple more hat-tricks around that time.
Did you catch the game, Luke?
I did. I think with United, it's spared them some blushes, their second half performance. Heck, they actually won the second half if you look at the game. So they may have lost by three goals, but they did. Maybe the positive to look for is maybe Martial can kick on now. 2 goals in that game. Yes, one was a penalty and the other one was pounced upon, but maybe that can help his season. Finally, he's not going to get to the Ballon d'Or clause, let's be honest, but it could be a positive for United. Everyone knew, realistically, going into this, they were most likely getting turned over.
Yeah.
Any team going against Man City at the moment, Newcastle got a draw against them, and who was the other team that got a draw?
Aston Villa.
Yeah, Villa. Yeah,
I think it was Villa. Yeah,
surprisingly
Villa.
But that's what Newcastle were 3-0 up in that game.
Which means that Man City were 3-0 down at some point in that game. That just saying they're 3-0 down, throwing trigger words out here, that still means they're vulnerable in a way. If you suddenly, if we start talking about that, yes, they were 3-0 down. That's a positive for the rest of the league to look at. If they got pulled back, sure, but it means that there is a chance you can catch them napping, and that was with them at full power. Now they've got Rodri benched. No, not benched, but injured, so they're not playing with a holding midfielder.
But you've got that situation, though, haven't you, where so Newcastle, went out, played their game plan, got 3 goals, then did the criminal thing of sitting back to try and basically see it out, and you can't do that to Man City because Man City punished you, as they did. They gave the possession away, and eventually Man City broke them down. Now, if they tried to do the opposite and think, right, okay, we were 3-0 up that time, we should just carry on as we were, then it doesn't matter, because probably by the 70 minute, everything's going to be knackered because they've been working as hard as they have for the whole 70 minutes, and then they'll pick them apart because they're running against tired legs. I just think that, you can't count them out at any point, even if you're 4-0 ahead. That you've still got you can't invite them on. And I actually think the only reason Man United won that second half is because Man City just wouldn't say gave up, but they were just happy as they were, and I don't think they gave as much in the second half.
Yeah, but consider the thing is, we've seen interviews post match. I can't remember who it's from saying that they were. I think it was Nathan Ake, that they were given instructions to go out the same and play with the same intensity. You want to batter your right. This is the biggest match of the season for you in terms of rivalry. You're 4-0 up at half time. The record's 9. You can go. You can see that and put them in lights. It's the same thing that I think Arsenal should have done to Tottenham. 10 men, and Tottenham are getting desperate. They're bringing on 3 defenders and 2 midfielders. You go for the jugular. They're not really offering anything. You go and embarrass them. Is what Spurs tried to do back in May, I'm going to say. The 3-0 game. Spurs' biggest win against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Spurs tried to compound that misery of a Rob Holding red card. You want to rub it in your rival's face as much as possible. Them going from 4-0 up to only winning by 3, it's not going to cut as deep. Them almost letting the bragging rights sort of letting them slide. It's given United fans a positive outlook that they can look at that. We won the second half. We've got Martial, who could be in good form. Anthony scored a worldie. There's actual things they can take away from that game that are somewhat positive.
Yeah.
Whilst at half time, everyone's flooding out the stadium, you could have left that in absolute despair. United in disarray.
Yeah.
And then Ten Hag comes under more doubt. Ten Hag, I don't think is in any jeopardy. If that game ends 8 or 9, some people would just consider it a write-off, but there would be a lot of people that would start to have their head maybe turned.
Oh, yeah, probably.
You could have derailed United's season just off that game. And the fact that Man City took their foot off the gas, I think is a mistake. They could have really turned United heads.
Yeah.
And we've had another manager sacking this week as well. Bruno Lage has been sacked from Wolves this week after losing 2-0 to West Ham. Now, I think that's a little bit of a surprising one. I know obviously the results haven't been that great for Wolves the last 4 weeks, I believe it is. 4 defeats in a row. Mm-hmm. So, but even then...
It's dipped into last season.
It's surprising to me in the sense of I didn't think he was going to be the first manager to go, or sorry, not the first manager to go, but the next manager to go. But it's not surprising in terms of if that was the West Ham of last year, it wouldn't be surprising. But let's not beat around the bush. West Ham have been terrible this year, so to go and lose 2-0 to them, where that is a game that they would have hoped to have at least come out of a draw with, I can understand it. He was probably skating a thin line, and that was just the nail in the coffin, so to speak.
I'm pretty certain Wolves had some terrible stats leading back to last season to do with goal scoring. They have not been scoring goals pretty much at all. It's damning.
It's got to be part of the reason why they brought Diego Carlos, I suppose. But
Diego
But
Costa,
then again,
yeah.
Diego Carlos,
Villa.
yeah.
even
He went Villa.
before him, like even previous managers, I think it's just a Wolves sort of situation. You never really associate Wolves with high scoring, winning games for themselves. Like, I always picture them as a team that will always just tends to win 1-0 or 2-0 or something like that. Never see them as the exciting football team.
No, but they never really
disagree.
concede too many though.
Yeah, they've had some interesting things happen. Wolves have capitulated this season due to losing
Connor Cody,
starting 3 centre backs.
Yep.
Yeah. So Connor Cody going on loan. Who loans out their captain? That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. Roman Sace left on a free, as did Willy Bolly.
Yep.
That's 3 of the 4 main centre backs they had. The only one remaining, I believe, was Max Kilman. They lost the spine of their defence. They lost leadership in Connor Cody, who's flying at Everton now.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
and that you know what, we don't know, do we, anything about that? There might have been some ins and outs of that situation. As to, like Luke said, why would you get rid of your captain? Your captain who's been your talisman centre back. We're not talking about a captain in midfield or a captain goalkeeper. We're talking about someone who is at the heart of your defence, where actually now in today's football is actually the heart and start of your attack. So, like, that seems a bit strange to me that they've gotten rid of him. And, you know, say if there were some frictions between him and Lage, and then this poor run of form, I can see why the board would want to get rid of him.
So they've only scored 3 this season. 1 in a win against Southampton, 1 in a draw against Newcastle, 1 in a loss against Leeds. The back end of last season, they scored a little bit towards the back end of last season, but they were losing a lot. So they lost to Liverpool 3-1. They drew with Norwich 1-1. Lost 5-1 to City, 2-2 with Chelsea, 3-0 to Brighton, 1-0 to Burnley. Their last win came against Villa in April, and that was beginning of April. So they've been on a massive downturn of form.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably looking like 2 wins in their last, I reckon, 15 games, maybe a bit less, maybe 13. So 2 and 13.
Let's not understate as well the difference that not having Traore has made. Like, that guy, whether he had much end product, because he didn't, you know, he was a bit like a pace beast, I suppose. He didn't always have the best end product, but he was massively influential on that team. He was their main outlet.
I disagree a little bit.
I believe he started 5 games this season, or at least been in 5 games this season.
I don't think he is that critical. I don't think he wasn't such an influential part of their play. Like you said, like he just was a bit of a pace thing, and that's about it.
Pace and strength, like, the baby oil merchant.
Oh yeah, the baby oil. Nah, I think it was Jimenez that was more.
Jimenez,
more the critical
David Luiz
element.
Ruined Wolves. There you go. There's the headline.
Yeah.
David Luiz ruined Wolves by destroying the face of Raul Jimenez.
That'll be it for this week's episode of the Free Foot Tiers. Obviously, every Monday night we do have the Twitter space that we do for the extra time, where we answer your questions live over on Twitter. So obviously this episode comes out on a Wednesday, so if you want to be part of it, feel free to join our Discord, and also make sure to follow us on Twitter at FSB Creators, so that you get to be involved in that and submit questions so that we can answer it. And we will see you all next week with some more FIFA 23 content. Brad and Luke, thank you very much for being part of the podcast as always.
Always a pleasure.
No worries.
And we will see you all next week. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Peace out, guys.